to give strong support to those whose heart is blameless toward him. To help you navigate the following chapters, it may be helpful to think of this book as a square with 4 corners. At each corner sits a profound and unchanging truth. First, God's providence is designed to do good for his people. God takes meticulous care to ensure our ultimate blessing. His scrupulous care in the unfolding of providence, despite any appearance to the contrary, is calculated to achieve the redemption of his people. All things work together for their good, Romans chapter 8, verse 28, good things and evil things. Failure to keep in mind God's continuous activity in our lives leads to despair and discouragement, as we see in 2 Chronicles chapter 16. Second, as Creator, God has both the power and the moral right to order events and circumstances as he pleases. Nothing and no one can hinder his ultimate plan for his people. However difficult the providence may seem to our finite understanding, God knows the end from the beginning. His decree is always effective. In the darkest hour, God is still in perfect control. His ultimate purpose for us cannot be hindered. Third, Charnock, like the authors of the Westminster Confession, understood providence through the lens of first and second causes. What God, the first cause, wills to occur happens through agents, second causes. God wills and man wills. We see only the human agent and often draw wrong conclusions. But, in the words of William Cowper's hymn, behind a frowning providence there hides a smiling face. In the midst of a terrible storm, we may lift our heads and see that his hand is on the tiller. To ensure a robust view of providence and maintain that God is not the author of sin, Charnock introduces a 4th premise. God brings about his will in 2 ways. He sometimes initiates something directly, and sometimes permits events to occur that he has not directly initiated. For example, he allows Satan to do his evil work, as we see in the book of Job, without being complicit in the evil itself. Even if we cannot understand it completely, we are better off for having experienced an evil, and the grace that sustains us, than we would be if the evil had never occurred. With these theological tools in hand, Charnock explores the intricacies of divine providence in ways that pastorally nourish the soul. These truths of divine providence have helped me through some of the greatest trials of my life, and they promise to do so for you as well. It is time for you to stop hearing what I have to say and start hearing Charnock for yourself. In doing so, you will be thankful for the wonderful modern edition prepared by a dear friend of mine, Carolyn Whiting. Prepare to be blessed. Derek W. H. Thomas. Editor's Preface. A number of years ago, I read a quote attributed to Stephen Charnock, a Puritan theologian whom I had never heard of at the time. To me, his words read like a symphony written by a man whose heart overflowed with wisdom and a certainty of the knowledge of God and the holiness of his being that could only come from divine revelation. I wanted to read more. Most Christians have neither heard of nor read Charnock. If this describes you, dear listener, be prepared. You are in for a real blessing. This modern edition of a 17th-century work came out of my attempt to encourage a small group of young professional women to listen to the Puritans, and specifically Stephen Charnock. My primary reason for editing this book was my heart's desire for others to understand the doctrine of God's providence as Charnock so masterfully presents it. It is a difficult concept for us to grasp. We live in an age of digital distractions and shrinking attention spans, but our God remains fixed on eternity and his eternal ends, drawing all things together and making them subservient to his glory, the glory of Christ, and the good of the Church. I have never known a time when the family that raised me and the family I raised were not active members of the Church, united to a body of believers who held tight to the truths of the gospel. Jesus Christ has always